wanted it, so he got it. Somehow he's gotten it, so I don't know where it is.
We're looking for him and the cat.
We're
under the
looking, we
couch.
found him, we just know. So you probably did all this planning though. You planned seating, planned stuff, but think about it. In our daily lives, we're always making ready, right? We're getting ready to come to church. We're getting ready to get dressed. We've got to stop and get gas. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. We get ready. But today the topic is about making ready for your absolutely best life. Did you wake up this morning? I had my affirmation. Did you wake up? I'm ready for my best life ever. Did you say that? No, you did not. Guess what? You can start over again, or you can start tomorrow morning when you do that. But the idea is that when we're making ready, we make so many mundane plans for daily stuff, but this is about making plans for your best life ever. And so when you're making plans for your best life ever, what is it that we need to do? Well, in religious science, we have a formula about prayer treatment. Now, I'll tell you, if you look in the Science of Mind book, it's not spelled out, here's the formula for the most successful prayer treatment. So you can read into where Ernest Holmes was. And remember, he wrote that in 1936. His first book was actually written in 1920. But, he wrote that book, and when he wrote it, it wasn't with a formula of prayer in mind, but he did have, with steps, but he did have an idea of what is the formula to creating the things that you desire. And think about it, the whole focus of this teaching is about creating a life that you desire, realizing that we're co-creators with God, that it's not just us having to do the work, but we're aligning with Spirit. So the very first thing, the very secret, only secret that you need to know is that your thoughts are creative. And the moment that you realize that your thoughts are powerful and that your thoughts are creating an energy. And I did an exercise this morning where we were our heart with our mind. And so the woman had, it was a thing I did this morning at home, and the woman had us connecting the two, because many times we lead with our mind and we forget that it's our heart that actually realize the whatever it is that we desire as well. So that creates a new experience for us. But the secret is knowing that deliberate and intentional thought combined with feeling and belief, that your word doesn't go back empty, come back to you empty, that's what produces the results. So let's look at the very first step of prayer treatment is about divine oneness. We all know, and we've all inherited the idea that I am one with Spirit and Spirit is one with me. But understanding that at a deeper level, Jesus, the master teacher, said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven is. And he also said, everything that you desire is desiring you. It's already out here and we're calling it into an experience. And how is it that we do that? By knowing that absolute truth. Until you can locate the kingdom of heaven within you, you're not going to be able to go out and create the things that you desire, and you're not going to see it in anybody else. It's like you have to believe it in order to see it happen in your experience. It's knowing that there is a power for good in the universe, and that power I am one with. It created me, and it creates with me, but it can only create with me to the extent that I can see it happening. Now, we may see signs of good happening for the next guy, the guy sitting next to us, but it's believing ourselves. Are you allowing perfect health in your life, perfect wealth in your life, perfect abundance, like our affirmation this morning said, am I believing that I am strong, everything is working out for my good in my life? Because many, many times, we have to know that we don't want to put our focus on what we don't want. But many times we go, my bank account shows a big goose egg in it, or my relationship stinks, or my job, my boss is really difficult. And the moment that we go down the rabbit hole, what is it that we're professing? What is it we're professing? That energy of it's not working, it's not working. So there's a beautiful book, Emmett Fox, that says, take your mind off the problem and put your mind on God. It's called The Golden Key. So you take your mind off whatever it is that's going on, and you put your mind on what it is that you desire. But many times we go in our minds and go, I don't like this, and I don't like that, and I don't like this. Okay, fine. That may help you fine-tune what it is that you want. But the truth of it is we want a spot of knowing what it is that you desire and keeping your focus on that. And it can be difficult sometimes, especially when you're experiencing lack or ill health or crabbiness or whatever it is. So until you have that kingdom within you, it's not going to manifest out there. Understanding the mechanics of how to create that starts with knowing your oneness with Spirit. And that oneness with Spirit it says, God is, and God is the power. But that power brings to you anything that you desire. But you have to, number one, know what it is you want and believe that it's attainable. You have to believe it and know it and focus on it. You focus your awareness on the essence of Spirit and your oneness with it. Because that's the idea of becoming co-creators with Spirit. You don't have to do it all yourself. And believe me, there's probably everybody in this room example where you never thought something was ever going to work out, but you said, you know what, I'm going to follow that little edict over the door there. I'm going to let go and I'm going to let God. I'm going to stay in that frame of mind, in that focus, in the of positivity that says, I'm going to create the experience that I desire. And that desire is coming to me. I don't have to know the how. I just only need to be in the place of accepting that it's going to happen. And that could be, have watched the daily news, or you talk to people that are grousing about something, and you can go in that weird energy right with them. It's important, though, to stay the course. To stay the course of, I'm going to be positive about my life. I'm going to be positive as I'm producing. I'm going to know the truth of what it is I want to produce, and I'm going to produce it. The fundamental law of divine oneness also says that beyond our senses, every thought, every action, and every event in some way is connected to everything else. Knowing our consciousness to all things, our connectedness, to all things is very important. So not only am I connected to Spirit, I'm connected to that thing that I desire is desiring me and going to come forward in my experience as long as I stay focused on it. And you know what? A lot of times we become focused on the opposite, and what do we get more of? Then we become in agreement with our limitations. And this teaching says, get in agreement with God. Get in agreement with what God says about you. Get in agreement with the power of truth operating through you, that all you need to do is ignite that and stay in that spot. We've got a perfect example of our heater. So we can say, you know what, the heater's toast. We don't know what's going to happen. So guess what? Why don't we all do a practice right here and now and say, you know what? We don't know how to fix the heater. I don't know about you, but I'm not an HVAC professional. But guess what? We can know that the divine arts are coming into play, and we are going to have heat by next week. Are you with me on that?
Yes.
So just know that. Let's just see us walking in going, yay, there's heat. I was already sitting up while we were singing going, yay, there's heat. There's going to be heat. So how do we use it? How do we get into this feeling of connectedness? First and foremost, we anchor our thoughts on the power that created us, right? The power of God in back of every word that you say. It's not just you spouting off positive stuff. It's you initiating the power of God through your word and through your experience. There's a big difference between when you believe that and when you don't. And so when you believe it, you absolutely know it, and you act as though and act as if, guess what happens? We start with God focusing on the power, and then we direct our thought. We direct our thought only towards the thing we want, not what we don't want. Okay? So only what it is you want. You want the heater to work. You're going to see the heater working. You don't go, oh my God, let's hope they get those relays in by the 8th of December. Hope that the module that we put in wasn't a big waste of money, or whatever it is. You keep your mind focused on the heat is working. It's perfect. I don't have to know anything. It came in at the price that it is amenable to all of us, and everything works out perfect. Love, joy, friendship, financial abundance, everything that you want. Think about it daily. Think about it daily. When you start your morning, read a prayer. Say to yourself, I'm ready for the best day ever. I don't care if Mercury's in retrograde. I don't care what's going on. I'm seeing perfection happening right here and now. Despite everything that the outside evidence out there, and what is that? They're only effects. And what's the result of? Thinking. So you go, okay, I have something that showed up that I don't quite like. Well, guess what? I just need to correct my thought. And it's also a reminder to us, not every storm comes to set us. Some storms come to clear the way, right? So some storms clear the way so that we can go, oh, I get it. my thought went a little south. Now all I need to do is get re-involved in what it is that I do. So when we're getting ready for our best life, think of the fact that we have a God-given power to create whatever it is that we desire. It starts with you. It starts with you. You're the seed from which the plant grows. Everything that you need to be, fully who you are, is already inside you. Think about that. Everything that you desire is already inside of you. We just need to bring it out. We just bring it out. We bring it out by focusing on it, by thinking about it, by saturating our mind with positive stuff, by doing good things, by being of service, by all these different things that bring this positive energy. So think about this. Every time we think of an adverse thought, it gets deeper embedded into our consciousness, and our recognition of it strengthens its hold upon us. Did you ever think about that? You know, you sit there and you go, oh, this runs in my family. Well, what have you now just anchored in your mind? Is there a hope that diabetes is ever going to go? Oh, no, you've already anchored it that, oh, it runs in my family. I'm destined to have it. I'm destined to have it. Well, guess what? Is that true? No, it's not true. It may be a truth in that moment for you, but guess what? You can unlearn that and say, up until today, my truth, I'm not accepting that any longer. I'm knowing a different truth. As above, so below, they say. God is waiting to act through you, and it's important to stop believing in what isn't good. It's important to stop believing in what isn't good. Now, I don't know, but I pretty much stopped watching the news because it's pretty negative. And there's a lot of stuff going on, although right now Christmas time is happening, so they had some happy story, which I did watch about, you know, kids getting presents and stuff like that. That's all fun stuff. And neighbors coming to help one another. There was, you know, the big fire that happened. The community got together and a guy lent his farm, and they had this big giant shared meal together where they all got to kind of commiserate and share stuff. And the woman said, you know what I feel? She goes, I feel love. She goes, I feel hope. She goes, my house burned down. I lost everything. But she goes, you know, I felt hope because of this lunch. And do is let you just saturate yourself with things that are going to make you feel more uplifted. Be around people that are uplifting. If you're with a person that's a real downer to you, maybe stop hanging out so much with them. Or let them know, you know, I'm going to shift this conversation to something positive because we're starting to go down that rabbit hole. I don't feel so great, and I don't want to feel like that. So you just check your feeling. Check in on your feeling. Always check on your feeling, because you see the energy that I'm feeling today. And if the energy isn't so great, just go, all right, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to be clear about what it is that I would desire, and I'm going to go for it. Maybe you don't feel so energetic today. Maybe you don't feel so hotsy-totsy. Maybe you have a cold. Maybe something else is going on. But you get to declare what kind of a day you're going to have, not the outside world, not the circumstances dictating to you. You get to determine what it is. I'm going to tell this story. I'm telling the story a little out of focus, but so there's a story of a pastor, and he goes out in his backyard. He sees this darling little kitten, and he's like, oh, I've always wanted a kitten. So he goes to catch it, and the kitten runs up a tree, and he's like, oh my. So the kitten's way up in the tree. He's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this kitten down? Now the kitten's gone out on a branch, and he's like, holy cow. He comes out with milk, he comes out with some food, and the cat will not be coaxed down the tree. So he says, oh my goodness. Well, you know what I'm going to do? He's on that branch. I'm going to throw a rope over the branch. I'm going to tie that rope to the back of my car, and I'm going to drive my car forward, and I'm going to pull that branch down, and then that kitten's going to have to jump off, and he'll go right for the food. So he's in his car, and he's looking at the branch, and he's pulling the branch down. He's driving his car ever so slowly, making sure that everything stays cool. And he's like, okay. So he's little by little, the branch is coming down, the little kitten's starting to come down, but the rope breaks. And with that, bing! The cat goes flying into the air, into nowhere. He's like, oh my God, where is that cat gone? So he goes all around the neighborhood. Has anyone seen a little kitten? You see a little kitten? They're all like, no, I haven't seen a little kitten. So he's like, oh man, I'm leaving it up to God. You know, I'm sorry, I tried to do my best. I'm gonna leave the food here. Maybe it'll come back, but I hope it wasn't hurt. So the next day he goes to the food store, and he sees one of the congregants from his church. And he goes, oh, you know, how you're doing? And she goes, Pastor, you are not gonna believe this story. And he goes, okay, he goes, what's going on? So they're in the food store, let's cut to the chase here, and he says, you know, my daughter has been wanting a kid forever. She's been praying, praying, praying. And I don't want to, because you know what happens? We get a pet in the house and I wind up taking care of it. So I said, no, we're not getting a kitten because you're not going to take care of it. I don't want a kitten. I don't like cats anyhow, blah, 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 blah. So the girl is just begging her, please, Christmas is coming. Couldn't we get a kitten? Just get a kitten. So she goes, all right, I'll tell you what. You pray for a kitten. And if God sends you a kitten, we're going to keep it. So she goes, I'm telling the truth, Pastor, I saw this with my own eyes. My daughter went out in the backyard and got down on her knees and said, God, please send me a kitten. And with that, a little kitten is flying through the air, hands out, stands right in our backyard, right next to my daughter. She's like, my prayer, they aren't answered like that. My daughter is like a miracle worker. This is a Christmas miracle. And the pastor's just going, isn't that fascinating? So see, things happen that we don't know. He didn't ever admit to the fact that he had the, you know, he did not go into that. But think about it. When we put our prayer out there, we don't know how it's going to come. We don't have to know how it's come. Your assignment is stay the course. Just believe in it. Believe in it. Don't have to figure out how. Just trust, you know what? With God, all things are possible. They really are possible. And so what you know is, okay, you get a prognosis about something, you don't like it, you say, okay, guess what? Something good's going to come out of this. Something good is going to come out of this. You get the job. I remember I had a job that was horrible. It basically was a horrible job, and people weren't very nice. And I was kind of shocked going, how in the heck did I attract this? I thought, my God, this is really tough. So I said, okay, but I'm going to stay positive. So people would say to me, oh, how's that new job going? And I don't mean the job here. I mean, it was a while ago. And they're like, how's that new job going? And I go, well, you know, it can only get better. That's the only thing I could to keep positive, because I thought, oh my goodness gracious, you come in and say good morning to people, they wouldn't even say hello. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll pretend like everybody just said hello to me, and I just sat down and do. But the good news is I was let go from after a month, which was like, I mean, my jobs are, I keep my jobs for like years, like 15, 20 years. So to start this new job, and it was all this big hoopla, and they were like, oh, you're this new mucky muck manager, and blah, 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 blah. I thought, I'm not quite fitting in here. Stuff is not working out right. So, you know what? I just kept saying, oh, you know what? It can only get better. It can only get better. So only getting better meant leaving it. So I said, you know what? That's the error. And I thought that was perfect. It worked out perfect. And then slowly this evolved. The center opened up and speaking engagements and all kinds of stuff. So I said, okay, I'm now in my right place, because I wasn't in my right place there. And you know when you're not in your right place. You know when you're not in your right frame of thinking, because your day is just funky. The other day, as I was getting ready, I was stressing. In that, probably in 1 hour, I broke 3 things. And I'm like, okay, I better sit down and meditate, center my energy, get calm, and chill out, you know, just do it. So I glued all my little stuff, and it all came back together. You know, my rabbit lost his arm, my little thing broke off the thing, and a glass broke that I couldn't fix, but that, you know, it is like I sent it to the universe. But at any rate, you know what? You know when you're off kilter. You know when you are. So it's okay to get off kilter. It's just get back on and go. I almost started to get in agreement with my less than attitude, and I don't want to do that. So I just want to catch myself. So the moment you start acting like life is a blessing, become one. Think about that. Whatever we're looking for, we will find. Whatever we're looking for, we will find. The moment you think that life is a blessing, it will turn out to be a blessing, because that's what you're looking for. It's like, again, I always give that example of, if you have a white car, all of a sudden you go on the road and there's a million white cars. I had written this, and I went to the food store, and which is another aside, by the way. You call it the food store here, do you? I know. My brother goes, where did you get food store? I go, didn't we grow up saying the food store? He goes, I don't say the food store. I go, oh, Oh, well, I tell everybody I got that from my family, but I call it the food store. At any rate, I was, and there was a guy in the parking lot, he goes, did you notice all the, he goes, I get a brand new white car, he goes, and look at all the white cars in the parking lot. I'm like, hey, I just wrote something about that, like, you know, because when you have a white car, all of a sudden, all you see is white, you see a Buick, or you see a Tesla, or whatever it is that you have. You see that car because that's where your mindset is. It's the same with anything in your life. If you can do it with a car, then you can do it with anything. You can do it. Life is an inside job, but you have to do the inner work. And the inner work just means get clear about who you are and whose you are. Get clear about that I am God personified, not God in totality, because that can sound so crazy that to a lot of people on the outside these doors, they go, what do you mean God personified? Guess what? We're each an expression of God, uniquely expressing as ourselves. And we have to realize that that power is in us. Realize that power is in us. That power is what's fueling every way that we go out into the world. So the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. Now, religious science does not profess to just, oh, poof, think about something and it'll happen. It means you have to do the work. You literally have to do the work. And the work just means get yourself in the right mindset. Go out and do the research of whatever it is you want, or whatever it is that you want to create. Get yourself in that mindset of knowing is coming into your life. Once you have the vision and the desire, everything's going to move towards that. So how to use it, how to create order and balance. Things don't just happen. Results come in about, results don't happen by accident, and that thinking makes it so. It's not just thinking makes it so. We have to actively move in the direction of our greater thoughts in order to create a greater experience. So sometimes it means up to the plate more. It means doing the extra mile. It means calling that person. It means calling yourself out on stuff that you've been kind of not so hotsy-totsy about, right? So you have to break free of any belief that's sabotaging what you want to create in your experience. And how do you do that? By just saturating yourself with ones that support your positive attitude. So, oh, I love this line. It's not my line, but when you argue for your limitations, guess what? You get to keep them. The other thing is sometimes we say that we want something, so be careful what you ask for. Because sometimes we think that we want something. We think that that's going to bring us happiness or joy. And all of a sudden we get that thing and we're like, not so much. That wasn't really what I wanted. So pay attention to what you're paying attention to. Pay attention to what it is that you really want. Like, you know, they always say, oh, I want more money, okay? And then say the person gets more money and then they don't have good health. And so the person that has the most money in the world says, you know what, I'd get every single penny if I had perfect health. So think about this that you really want in your life. Not just the stuff that's going to bring you temporary happiness. Think about what's really going to bring me a fulfillment in my soul, in my heart, about what it is that I want. Okay. Did you know that GPS stands for Global Positioning System? You know, our cars, our GPS. I never knew that. I looked that up. I said, I'm going to have to look that up because I don't know what GPS even stands for. It's Global Positioning, and that's because we're connecting to a satellite. So think about our heart is our global satellite. Our heart is connected with our soul, which is connected with spirit. And that thing will always tell us where, you know how our GPS will tell us to correct if we've made the wrong turn. Our heart will tell us that. How? When you pay attention to how you feel about something, you do something. Say you say something and you feel perfectly righteous in saying it, and then you say it feels so great after you've said it. You kind of feel bad that you said something to somebody the way you said it. It's like, you know what? Time to call that back in or go back to that person and say, you know what? I blew it. I shouldn't have said what I said to you, and I'm sorry about that. I was off base on that, and I apologize. Just use your heart as your gear counter to say, where am I at emotionally, and what's my truth, and how do I want to navigate it? So in closing, there's a couple things. We're tuning into our divine oneness with Spirit. We're knowing that we're co-creators with Spirit, that Spirit creates everything along with us, but can only create to the extent that we can see it. If we can't see it, if we can't vision it, it's not going to come in because we don't believe it's possible. So that's why it's so important to just saturate your mind with all the greatness of the world, all the greatness of the things that you yourself can bring to the world and do. You'll feel so much more, and all of a sudden, it will be like a lightning rod. People will start connecting, going, hey, it's like with the heater. Somebody called me and said, hey, I know a guy that does leasing for churches for heaters. Hey, guess what? Did you know that you can grant through CSL? I'm like, you're kidding. And that was all through prayer treatment, all knowing, these little dots were all connecting because we sent that prayer out there. The other thing is, seek joy and know that the moment you start acting like it's a blessing, it will become one. Create order and balance in your life. That means don't go around breaking things like I did the other day. And the second you do, just go, hey, you know what? I got to stop and get centered, ground yourself, do whatever it is you need to do. And in your life, love the parts of you that create the challenge in your life. Love the parts of you that create the challenge in your life, because guess what? They're opening you up. Those challenges are just opening you up to more light. You can look at it, oh man, lucky me, I had this happen to me, my car broke down or whatever. Guess what? It just opened you up to a new truth, and you went, oh, I can shift this, and you'll morph into something new and expect good things. You can't, I love this Henry Ford's quote, you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do it. Just go do it, just like our Nike commercial. So know with me now, please affirm with me. I move forward.
I move forward,
Allowing the power of spirit,
allowing the power of spirit
to guide my life.
to guide my life.
Center myself
I center myself
on the power within me.
on the power within,
Focus my thoughts
and I focus my
on my
thoughts
desired goals
on desired
and
goals
pursue them
and pursue them
with strength
with strength
and connection and
connection
grace
and grace
and ease.
and
And
ease.
all is well in my world.
And all is well in my
So
world.
it is.
So it is. Thank you, Reverend Mary.
Thank you. Yay. And now